So the final podcast of the three is designed to help you think about how you may use the various different elements that we've created in the last two podcasts to put together your final design idea. So what I started by doing is producing a couple of pieces of text. Design of the Year, GCSE Havering 2016. These are using two typefaces. This one is Phosphate Solid and this one is Letter Gothic Standard Bold. The idea is that you're choosing sans serif typefaces that have a fairly contemporary feel to them and which you can start to build your design around. So where we're going to start, we'll see how this goes. Also, you don't have to stick to exactly what I've done, but we'll start with the text here. So again, in order to move that around, I need to be on the layer that the text is on. That's the Designer of the Year. I'm going to leave that on there. The second layer, GCSE 2016, I'm going to start by swinging it round. So Command T, swing it round so that potentially it might go something like that. Okay, think about your rule of thirds. So don't put this vertical right in the middle and don't put it diagonally. Is that straight? I think it is just about. Now I can't leave those two layers exactly how they are. So I'm going to come to enter that, come to here and see if that will fit into the middle there, which it will just about. What I might just do is give it a little bit more space by going back onto the text that I created that on, making a selection there and put in a bit more space just by putting an extra gap in there. Okay, so I've started already building the kind of structure of what I want. I might add 2016 in as well as we go along. So let's just move Design of the Year down a bit. You can go to View and turn off this snap key and then they won't snap to the grid. Okay, so if I get my example one back here just for a second, the idea is to use your monograms using your pattern colours and shapes and to familiarise you with a bit more in terms of the selection tool. We're going to be using the polygon tool, which you can get by clicking on the little arrow at the bottom here, and probably the brush and the fill tool, which is underneath that gradient tool. So let's get our window back here. So let's start by bringing in one of these pieces. Didn't really want that on there. I'm going to bring that in by putting it into the Photoshop there. That's just your monogram. I want to get rid of that now because we don't need to look at that at the moment. And get my piece of work I'm starting the design of, slide that up into the toolbar so it doesn't keep sliding away and annoy me. I'm going to put this one into here and I'm going to just drag that with the movement tool onto here. Okay, that's come out massive. You could decide actually, I really like that, I'm going to keep that big, or you could decide, well actually that's miles too big. So do a Command T and change around. Now as with the pieces of the work that we were doing earlier, sometimes something very big will give a good structure. So just for the time being I'm going to leave that in there. I probably want something which has got slightly more straight lines in than that, and that might get in my way. But for the time being, I'll leave it there. So it is covering up a lot of the writing. So the first thing I want to do is hit it with a layer with a white background. So I'm going to go to the Magic Wand tool, which is there. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to delete the white off that layer. As with your shape tools, you can also, I've lost my layers box, I'm just going to find that back. I'm going to get rid of that and get my layers back by going to Window and Layers. Okay, I always want my layers here because they're going to tell me what's going on with the design. And also, I can knock that back to a more opaque layer so I can see through a bit more. So I've got a structure starting here. I think I want a block to think about the style of the artist. I want to keep the kind of block nature of the piece. I'm going to get rid of that selection, by the way, by just doing Command and D, and that will get rid of that selection. As when you were doing your composition pieces, everything that you do on here, I want you to remember to build into different layers. So this is going to be a colour shape behind the Designer of the Year bit, but I want that to appear on a new layer. So I'm going to create that before I go any further. I'm going to go to the bucket and I want to choose a colour. I've lost my colours down the bottom of here at the moment, so we'll just make that a bit deeper. And I want a kind of blue overall theme to this, so I'm going to keep it quite harmonised for the time being. Doesn't be too dark because it won't show against the black. And I'm just going to put a bucket layer into there. It's gone behind my writing, so I need to slide the writing, which is that one, above the writing there. Okay. At the moment, that black feels like maybe it'll want to be white in the end, but I'll leave it for the moment. Now I've created these design pieces with the colours on earlier on, so let's see if we can start to use those. So let's bring that one in. Oops, lost it. Drop it into there. This is this fan piece, so I'm going to, again, I'll just move that across so I can see what's going on. What does that? I think I will just select an area of this. So I'm going to drop that onto the bar there so it doesn't disappear behind again. I'm going to try to anyway. There we go. And I will select a piece off it so I've not got much of a border. So select that. And I'm going to copy it by doing a Command and C. And then I don't need this at the moment. So having copied it, I'm going to get rid of it. And I want to put it onto a new layer in here. So I'm going to create a new layer first with my folded back paper and do a Command and V. Okay, just for the time being, I think I'm going to just use that in some areas. So I think actually what would be quite good maybe is a block of it at the top here. So just for now, I'm going to maybe make it smaller with a Command T. Maybe put a block here. Okay, I can always bring my GCSE forward or change it around if I want to later. Enter that. And I think also I can use an area along here. So I think with that one, I'm going to click on this layer and do a layer and duplicate, so that just copies it. So the layer in the dialog box is going to give you that extra one. I could have used the Alt key of course as well. So to fill that section, I want to make a selection here. I'm going to just chop that piece off there. Command X to cut that away. Put that into there. And I've got a square I've created, so I think I'm going to put something else. I might put what would fit in here, maybe, is this piece again. So let's get that. This time, definitely going to make it significantly smaller. I've done a silly thing there. I've not used my Shift key to change the size. So I'll do Edit, Undo, and Edit, and it's not going to let me undo it. Okay, so we will click on it and try and put that right by just squaring it up again and giving it a little swing around to get it straighter. Okay, then press my Shift button, which I should have done in the first place, and reduce that down a bit. Okay. Okay, so another thing that, if you look at Marion Bantjes' work, she had these sort of extra squares, and we might put 2016 in here as well as an extra piece of design work. I quite like to use some of these pieces here. I'm just going to put that into Photoshop for a minute. I think I want to use the black one, so I'll get rid of that a second and bring this one in instead. So this is why we produced a number of different pieces. This one I'm going to drag it into there and resize it and decide what to do with it. So Command T to change the size, use the shift this time to creep it proportional, and just decide what I want to do with it by maybe, you can see different areas that things would fit into. I might actually do something I did a bit similarly earlier and create a section there, see how that would look. At the moment my type's getting lost there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much at the moment. Maybe I'll take this across here. I might take a section out of the middle there so I protect my writing here. Apply that. So yeah, at the moment it's too big for that space. So rather than leaving it exactly like that, I will do a couple of things. I'll make a selection over it. Now I've already got the area that I'm working on, so I'm going to take that bit. In fact, what I could do is create a new layer along here and put a stripe in that's going to protect the GCSE writing. So I'll put that onto a new layer, give it a colour, and I think we'll go for a turquoise type of colour. And so long as I'm on a layer which has nothing else on, I can worry about exactly where it's going to go in a minute. So I've chosen my colour, drop that into there, so you can see I've now got my writing showing quite well again. And Command D to deselect that section. I think that block actually could be wider, so I'm going to just do that. Command T and make the block a bit wider. I have got a new problem though. I've got it running over the top of this piece. So in order to change that again, I need to get my blue block, where that is, and my designer of the year actually as well, and run that over the top of the green bits. So I'm going to slide my layers up until they are above there. So I've got my design of the year layer coming as well. Now I may decide to leave that like that, or I could decide I want a much more irregular sort of shape. So if I can do that, I could cut a section here, say, am I on the right layer? No. Okay, nothing is happening because I'm on the wrong layer. So actually I want to be on the layer that's got this pattern on here, and use the polygon tool here. So that's another selection tool, but I can select more of a triangular shape. So if I select that part of it, I'm on this layer, so if I knock the tone back, I can do that. It's actually selecting it on the whole lot. The reason for that is because I haven't rasterized the layer. So I think I will do that. I'll deselect what I've done. I think if I go to layer and rasterize, which is there, not going to let me do that. Okay, that's probably because it's the wrong sort of layer. Let's rethink what I might want to do with that. So for the moment I'll leave that there. I might take the opacity down a bit. I'd really like to work out how I can just take the opacity down on part of it, not all of it. Let's try doing that. I probably, by saving a separate layer, could do this, but I'm not going to spend ages doing this at the moment. So that's my selection. I've got that layer on. I think this is going to take the whole lot down again. Okay. For the moment, I think I'll just have it as a slightly lighter layer. Okay. I'd like to put some other colour blocks in. So I'm going to do something with this one here. Slide it in through Photoshop and copy that, select that. Use this again. If you overshoot where you want, you can just click somewhere else and redo it. Copy that, and to then get rid of that, and I'm going to paste it into this image. So create a new layer and Command P, to paste it. And I want that not to be such a dominant thing. So I'm going to do a Command T, change the size of it. I reckon it'll fit quite well into this little block here. Maybe take it down behind there. Prefer it square. Okay, so quite often you've got to look at things and decide as you're doing them. Okay, I could change the colour tone of that if I wanted it to be maybe something a bit more greeny or match the turquoise. Another thing I might want to do is just create a new layer again. Perhaps create something which was a sort of triangle colour shape. See if we can do that this time with the polygon tool. So I've got a shape there. Choose a colour, maybe one that's going to be a bit more of a contrast, I think. A bit of red in it. A bit of a raspberry colour, that's better. Okay, and use the bucket to drop a colour into there, so we can add that. And that's brought another element of colouring. I think your overall design maybe only wants 3 to 4 general colour tones in it. I like that, however, and I'm going to go onto my box tool at the top here and use the image and saturation adjustments, saturation. Could not compute it because the selected layer is empty, so it's saying you're on the wrong area. Don't think I am. Oh, it's because that's already selected. So Command D. It's quite good to have changes on here because probably the mistakes I'm making are the ones that you will make also. So now I can go on to having not selected that other area and go on to image adjustments, hue and saturation, and I can raise the hue and saturation of that piece and then change the overall colour scheme to fit what I want. If it's not really going the right colour on here, the other thing I can do is cancel that and go to image adjustments and use the colour balance. This I can work in the same way, so I can make it much more kind of pink purple coloured by using the colour balance, and this works by changing the high and low light, so it makes something kind of a bit more intense with pattern colour there. Maybe bring a bit of green into it to bring it back towards the general tone. What happens if I do that? Don't like that. So I can change that around. Okay. Now the part actually I don't like at all here is this green colour now. So I'm just going to go, before I go any further, click onto there and change that green. So I'm on this layer now, and I think I can just go straight to there with my pink and drop that into there, which I prefer that. And I think the next thing I might have done is change that right into white. However, you've got the idea of what's happening here. I've got something which is working in the style of the artist, and you're learning to use the polygon type of shapes. I could add something like a dramatic 2016, I could use more monograms, I could use more pattern shapes. But I think I'm going to leave the podcast there because it's shown you the harmonious nature of the colours that we're using and an idea of how to construct your final design.